Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. In the financial independent retire early community, a lot of people talk about retiring early. And for me, the focus was financial independence. The retire early part wasn't important. There were actually several times where I said, I don't think I'm going to retire late because I loved my job. So the purpose of today's video is I have Matt, the lumberjack landlord, and Michael Zuber from One Rental at a Time. The three of us have reached financial freedom. And I want to talk about the reason we focus on making work optional, because it doesn't mean you quit your job. If you hate your job, if you literally just can't stand Mondays getting up and having to go to work, I would quit your job before you get to financial freedom and just find another job. But once we reach financial freedom, let's go to Mike first. You intended to work 5 more years.
Mm-hmm.
And then can you tell me the story of what changed your mind and how did that transaction go?
Yeah. So kind of my story in a nutshell is I work in the Silicon Valley. I work in software sales. Over the years, I've proved to be very good at what I do. I was one of the few people who have taken 3 software products from 0 to 100 million and justly rewarded. For me, that's a huge ego kick. It's fun being that guy. And I love my job. I've told my employer I would do it for free. I just loved what I did. And of course, if anybody knows my story, one rental at a time, we start buying in 2002. The portfolio grows. Olivia retires, financially free. Both of us are probably financially free together, probably 2016, probably 15, 16, something like that. But didn't think about it, right? It just kept building in other accounts. I'd always planned to work till I was 50. I'm like, I'm going to do this till I'm 50. I've been saying that since I was 31. It's just, software sales is a young man's game, right? You burn out eventually because you're on a clock every 90 days. It's just stressful. So I always said 50. I was going to punch out at 50, claim victory, because everybody I knew in my position, they really started to look haggard over 50 because it just wears on you. Like a 55-year-old software guy, not looking good. So I didn't want to be that. I mean, it's just true. So 50 was my
years.
Yeah, dude, because those last 10 years just eat at you.
Yeah.
So I was going to be done at 50. I love my job. I was good at it. Ego strokes, the whole thing. So in my profession, every year things change. Every year, new quota, new team, new products, new crap. And it's always worse. Always a bigger quota, always less products, always less accounts. But you do it for 20 some odd years, you get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
I had some non-starters. I got to a point where I had a reputation and I thought it meant something. My employer had different ideas. They chose not to listen. And they gave me my 3 non-negotiables. In the meeting where this happened, I had a flash decision. I could have gone to the EVP and fought this and maybe won. But I would have won the battle, lost the war.
Mm-hmm.
My reputation would have gone from on high to garbage. So I wasn't willing to do that. I also wasn't willing to take this shit sandwich. So again, in about 7 seconds, I processed, do I want to fight? Because my if you hear my story at all and you watch the After Dark, my natural instinct is to fight. I may not come across that way, but if you punch me, I'm going to punch you back. It may not be I may not punch first, but I'm going to punch last. I don't guarantee I'm going to win, but I'm willing to go there. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to win the battle to lose the war. So that was out. I'm looking at this shit sandwich. What are the 3 strikes? And the person that I'm going to be reporting to is in the room. I'm like, I don't like you. You really don't like me. This is not going to work out. So let's just call it a day. Let's design a severance package where I say nice things and you say nice things. And let's just call it a day. I did all of that in 7 or 9 seconds. I'm literally walking back to my desk, texting Olivia, going, I'm coming home. It's over. I'm out. And I left early. I left 5 years early. So all because I could process that I could, right? I could have done it years earlier. I loved my job, dude. I was a type A. I was addicted to being that guy. It wasn't even the money. I would have stayed doing that job for 0. It wasn't the money. I was addicted to being the one guy who was anointed magical. He took this whiteboard drawing and in 3.5 years produced $100 million. That's addictive, and did it 3 times. I liked it. And then they gave me stuff I didn't like, and I left.
The goal of retiring by 50 set you on the path to make it an option to where when you had that day, you could walk out. And someday I'm going to get a hold of Olivia and we're going to make a video on what her reaction was the day her husband quit his job without checking in with her first. But not today.
I've actually never asked. I should probably ask.
Never. She'll never do it.
And Matt, you're in a very similar situation. You have a very, very high paying job that you've earned your way into. You have reached financial freedom, probably multiples of it by almost any definition. Work is optional.
It is.
So can you tell us what it's like when you go to work and you know you don't have to? Because before you do that, Mike said, I would do my job for free. And I hear that from a lot of people. I like my job so much, I did it for free. I loved my job. I grew the company, like from 6 staff to 60, 1 location to 5. Like I feel like I won the battle, won the victories over and over and over. Mm-hmm. But I would always say, I love my job so much, it's the only one I would do for money. So I wouldn't have done it for free, but I'm never working another W-2 job. That was the only one. Why are you still in yours?
No idea. I think it's a lot. So I'm in software too. It's a lot like what Mike says. I've done 3-4 product turnarounds, company turnarounds. And so I'm the fixer. So I come in and I fix it. And then when you fix it, you become the man. And then it doesn't matter what your title is. You're the one sought out to answer the questions. And so that certainly is addictive. And then every day is more risky than the previous because I have that much more margin to play with that I can walk out. And so that makes me a very dangerous man, Dion. I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those weird things where I think, for me, like you talked a lot about, you had a couple goals that you want to make sure that you achieved, because you put so much time in, and so for me, most people don't know that I was here for 4 years and felt like I'd accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. And then I went somewhere else as a fixer and was on my path to accomplishing that. And opportunity created itself where I could basically come back and I could finish, essentially take them next level and grow the company 10x and do all that stuff. And so I went back. And so now I've been back for 10 years. So I put a total of almost 15 years into the company. And I'm 45. So it has owned more than half of my professional life because I started in software when I was 19 actually. So I've got 26 years into software at 45 years old. So yeah, so I think that it's the toughest thing to look at because the real estate thing is work, but it's not work. It's work, but it's not a job. And so I really enjoyed building my portfolio and doing it literally in my spare time. In my spare time, I've built this portfolio. And so, the good news is that, yeah, I can retire tomorrow if I want to, and I could literally hand it over to a property manager and I would have more than enough money to live the rest of my life. It's not a problem. And so for me, that's where, but I still I'm still very much in the shoes of my first few properties and growing the business. I'm just entrepreneurial. I'm messed up like that. And so every deal is almost like it's my first, except now I have the luxury of having the enterprise that I can kind of snap it into, so it's like 1 is hard, 3 is harder, 7 starts to get easier, 10 gets easier. And then it's just, okay, I have properties that, we haven't heard from the tenants in like about a real issue in 2-3 years. The rent's on time every single month. They don't need anything. If something breaks, they know we fix it, but it's kind of a well-oiled machine. So yeah, so the whole reason I'm still working is because I want to finish these last couple tasks. And once I do, then I'll ride off into the sunset and be as difficult to schedule things with as you two are.
It's like Mike and a couple of other people that I follow say, when you retire, and especially retiring early, you are going to wonder how you had time to work.
Yeah.
I think if you retire at 65, you're like, okay, I'm done. But
Yeah.
when you retire in your 50s or your 40s, so many other things pop up. Like
Sure.
these last 2 weeks are more busy than the last 6 months for me.
Sure.
And I'll probably take this out of the video because it's going to be a bit of an overshare.
Not today.
I thought I loved my job and I would do it. I would retire when I couldn't work anymore because I liked it that much. I grew the company. I'm realizing now at the 2-week point of being retired, the mountain of stress that I didn't see.
Mhm.
So as a company president, I had 5 campuses with 60 staff who relied on me to make sure there was enough work next week for them to have a job. I have the company owners relying on me to run the entire, like an admiral running the whole fleet, making sure their lifestyle's maintained. I have students who are signing up every week, making sure I maintain relationships with employers so that they have a job when they graduate, making sure I maintain curriculum so that they graduate able to get that job. Like this list of things that I hadn't thought about, that I enjoyed building that around me. There are people watching this video right now who love their job, who don't think they would retire, but aren't looking at it through the same lens.
Yeah.
Look at it as if you could step away and all of the responsibility, even if you created that responsibility, wasn't yours. Mike and I talked about this in a video on his channel earlier today, but it's wonky.
Yeah.
Like the world just feels weird because of all of the freedom
You're
that
off
making
balance.
work optional made me able to do.
Yeah.
So I hope this video resonates with some people watching and lets you know that you don't have to quit your job when you get there, but it's worth getting to the point where work is optional so you can have all of these options. If people want to reach out with questions, Matt, how can they get a hold of you?
Lumberjack Landlord on YouTube, 11:30 a.m. Sundays, and also on Instagram.
Awesome. And Mike, if they want to get a hold of you,
One rental at a time on YouTube and Instagram and anywhere else you want to go, including books on Amazon. And of course, I go live Saturday at 8 a.m. And it turns out the best way to get your questions answered on my channel, because I can't get to them all, is that, what are those things called? Those super chats. Apparently, I need to talk about super chats. I had a YouTube expert tell me that I'm not getting in the algorithm correctly because I don't talk about super chats.
doing your live stream for an hour with as many people as tune in, that's the way to get the question answered.
Yeah.
So-
So I need to talk about that more, I guess. I got slapped on the hands the other day.
Awesome. Thank you both. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.